Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 2, practice 2 for age 16U. This week's practice will focus on stick and body awareness, as well as the concept of set shooting, which is time and space shooting, where you get to plant your feet. It's usually a crow hop and then a shot towards the net. So we'll talk a bit about more about that later. Nonetheless, the equipment needed here is always listed at the top. You may or may not have some more stick stringing issues with certain players where you maybe have told them to come early before the practice. And just a note here that this same practice could be done with set shooting only, shooting on the run only, even a mix of both. So for our purposes today, we're going to be focusing on set shooting. We are introducing the dynamic warm-up here as well today. Further reminder on different aspects of teaching a phase of movement. So preparation, force production, critical instant, and follow through. Those are usually the areas of any skill that break down. And if you do need to check in again on your passing, catching, and shooting skill breakdown, feel free to hit this link here in your email, and it will take you right where you need to go. One last reminder, if a player misses a pass in any catching drill, you can give them a second attempt to attack a rebound and roll or bounce a ball. And as the coach, just give them, usually if somebody missed a ball at higher levels, they would just immediately exit the drill and wait for their next opportunity. But this is an option as well, depending on numbers, to kind of give somebody a second chance who didn't necessarily get it the first time. So consider that. And lastly, we will introduce static stretching in this practice as well at the end. So otherwise, we're starting at center floor as always, coming in for a land acknowledgement and ultimately rehashing on skills learned in the previous practice, or just asking questions on things they remember, what they learned, and kind of they'll see how it connects to this practice, or you can even give them some kind of heads up on how it will fit into this practice, some of the things they bring up. So good way to connect with them, get them thinking. And kind of we finish with a discussion on hard work and perseverance. So the hard work piece you can see at the end here. Eventually we will do some running, some starts and stops. And with a shooting practice, there seems to be lots of standing around, so good little burst of cardio at the end. And lacrosse is hard work, and we want to make that point. And it also connects to life. You could say the same about perseverance, but perseverance too is about the fact that we're all at different stages of development and in terms of our technical abilities, and sticking with it after it doesn't work the first, second, third time. It's okay. Everybody's going to have some issues, and it's just about keeping a positive attitude. And over the course of the rest of these practices, they're going to make a ton of strides. So it's nothing to be down on by not necessarily getting one concept or another right off the bat. So not a big deal. So we would then kind of come in, touch it up for a little team cheer in the middle, maybe not with COVID, but then break out into partners. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to start with some basically dynamic buildups of partner passing. And the first one is this one here, 3A. One partner the passer will make a short run and then throw the ball. So last practice, we were more stationary in nature. Now we're having them take a short run and pass. After a minute or two of that, we're going to move to just the receiver of the pass taking a short run towards the ball carrier. And that's really going to require even more softer hands, like that catching an egg example from the last practice. And then we back them up even further, have both catcher and receiver running towards each other. And this is more kind of what you would see in games, and what you want to coach players to do is to take a long pass as such and shorten it up, and it becomes a much more safe, higher percentage pass. And especially when both players are moving, it's a high likelihood of it being an open pass versus something that's easily picked off by an opponent. So those are some good habits to get into. And then in the end, what we'll do is we'll back them up, or we can keep them backed up even. Pretty long pass, passer takes a short run, And to change it up for the receiver, instead of facing them like this for the pass, they're going to bring their stick across their body, turn their back, and catch it over their shoulder. We call that facing away. And that might be in like a potential breakaway scenario where you take off from the top, the person behind you got the loose ball, you're looking over your shoulder for this pass as you're running forward in transition. So just another style of catching the ball. If it's too far for people, you might want to make them a little bit closer to help with the accuracy of the pass. But the idea is again working on that new technique of catching. From here, we're going to get into 3-player shuttles, so one ball for per each shuttle, and we're going to introduce the concept of lead passing here. So lead passing is throwing it to where they're going, not necessarily where they are. So the idea here is, and usually you want to start players a little bit closer to one partner or the other, and so you're going to pass it to one side and then take off running towards that same side. That person's going to pass it back to the player across from them as the player in the middle goes around on their stick is leading in front of them. So lefties are going clockwise. You can see here, righties are going counterclockwise. So their stick is leading. And what we want is this passer over here, as the person in the middle comes around the other outside player, the ball should be right there hitting their stick as they come around. And that's the timing we want to stress and go for. And if we can have that timing in a game when we catch a ball, most of the time there's going to be a quality shot. That's the result. So a pretty good concept there. Each player in the middle for about 30 seconds each. And that's pretty much it. And at this time, well, actually, throughout both of these drills, goalies would be essentially getting shots in their net while the players are making the passing. Otherwise, you could also have goalies doing these passing drills too, which is what we show here. So maybe goalies passing here and taking shots here for a bit of a warm up. And so again, goalies continuing to get warmed up. We're still in 3-player shuttles, and now we are working as defenders again on a concept from last practice, which is keeping our stick up and in the passing lane. And so we have players side shuffling back and forth here, doing the old monkey in the middle scenario. But again, this is for the defender, and we want the players to actually try to pass it through the defender's stick. And the defender should be roughly 2 or 3 meters in front of the passer by the time the passer lets it go, to make it the most game specific. We don't want somebody just standing and going in circles here trying to knock it down. We really want them. It's like they're closing the gap on a potential shooter. And so first time through, we're gonna run forward with our feet running forward, and the second time actually we'll side shuffle back and forth. So 30 seconds each time. No lob passes, no bounce passes. Yeah, you can change the angle of how you pass the ball, but we're again trying to pass it through the stick of the defender here. And so from all these drills in the beginning, it's a good kind of sweat has likely been broken by everybody. Good general warm up. So now we'll get into introducing dynamic stretches for the first time, stationary dynamic stretches. And so if you don't know what those are, make sure you look at the dynamic warm up analysis in the main notes of the plan. About 7 minutes for that, little water break at the end. And then next, what we're going to do is do some passing against the boards with players. The first one is kind of a unique little drill, and the glass really needs to be high enough to do this. Standard glass will work, but instead of we're about 2 meters away, and instead of passing, with your shoulder square, what I want is your hips are square. And so you're passing it across and you're getting used to receiving the ball while your hips are perpendicular to where you've passed it. So just like this, and that's how, when we get to catching and shooting, it's going to be. And so next we'll move them back to about 15 meters away. And we have them now practicing set shooting for the first time, which, as I mentioned, is a short crow hop forward, like a side shuffle. And then we want to reach our arms, rotate our hips, and transfer our weight from our back foot to our front foot. And so coaches can walk around and kind of give tips and pointers on people's basic shooting ability at this point. And so we go for, about 2 or 3 minutes with the shooting piece. And then we're going to actually get into shooting on the goalie for the first time with this horseshoe shooting drill. And so righties and lefties are on their proper floor side. They're in the prime scoring area, which they should know about at this point. And all we're going to do is go either lefty, 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 righty, 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 and go kind of clockwise like this in terms of who's shooting. And then after that, you can go righty, right side to left side. It doesn't really matter. But we're about 12 meters back, and at the end, you can even bring people right in front of the net and in tight for about 2 meters away from the goalie. So kind of warming up the goalies there, make sure to hit them with the first couple shots when you get into this. Next, what we'll do is this shot blocking drill. So it's mainly for the D. Goalie will get lots of shots too. Players will get a chance to practice the shooting. But basically, we have, the first righty in line steps out on D. They're standing in the athletic position, but they're just trying to move their stick and mirror the release point of the person shooting. So this person shooting is about 2-3 meters back from them, and the idea is by the time they do their crow hop, as they're following through on their shot, they should more or less be touching sticks with this player here. So that's kind of the cushion that you need for it to be effective, and we're just trying to get used to getting that stick and knocking down passes as defenders, keeping our stick up. And so after everybody goes through a few times with this, so the defender will exit, the person who just shot will jump out, the other side will go, and we'll just switch back and forth like this for looks like about 3 minutes with this style, after having talked about shooting lanes for defenders and what that means, and how you never want to give up a shot around you, which is a screenshot. We always want to keep things in front of us here. And that will come even more into play in this next drill variation, where basically we're starting these players in the middle of the defense, which is kind of like a help position. So in a game, the ball would be over here, it would get passed over here. And when the ball's over here, I want to sag in as a defender. And then when it gets passed out to my guy, go out, close the gap on them. So that's why in that 3-player shuttle in the beginning, the monkey in the middle, that's why that side shuffle is so important. So the idea here now is the player side shuffles in and then tries to do the same thing and block this shot. So eventually with this drill, the player is allowed to tuck and go underneath and play a little one-on-one for 5 seconds. But for today, we just have the player taking this shot and trying to block it. That's it. Same rotation. The defender goes out. The person who shot comes in to play defense the next time their side goes, which is after the righties go. So just alternating back and forth like that. So good little concept for D. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned, but there, you could probably get away in this practice with helmets and gloves. So keep that in consideration. I don't think anybody's going to get hit with the ball here. Even if they do, kind of like get used to it. But we're trying to shoot in front of these players, not through them or around them. So I've done this before, and it's been fine with that. So something to consider. But anyways, we now add footwork to our shooting next, and this is called the L shot. Some people call it the hitch step or a juke to the middle. But player runs up, plants their outside foot, cuts into the middle, and then does their crow hop and shoots. Player down here, so eventually we'll get to the drag shot. Player runs towards the middle, it's not there, they plant their inside foot, backpedal a few steps, which is called dragging, and then they basically do their crow hop towards the net. And they don't want to continue dragging into the corner and fading away while they shoot. That's a bad habit. They backpedal a few steps, but then they step in and get downhill towards the net here, and for sure within this 45-degree angle, which is the cutoff of a quality shot. So whatever space you get in a game is what you would take. And if it was pushed you outside of 45, well, in that case, you'd probably curl out, pass it, and keep it moving. But the idea here is a couple different footwork patterns now added to the basic crow hop shot. And here, as we continue, there's a few more common variations. And as you can tell, all these other drills have we started with the ball in the stick of the player, which is a way for them to get a lot of reps, get some success early. Because once we add catching in these final drills here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, a little bit less reps, because the percentage of passes caught will probably go down. But in this drill here, the carousel and shoot, offensively, we always want to try to get the ball low for the most part. And so the concept is pass low, carry high. So this person would just, in this case, carry high up into the shooter position, do their crow hop and shot. And as coaches, if we have to, we can put some marks with pylons here. They're not listed here or in these previous drills. You could mark out the L shot and the drag shot as well if necessary. But basically 7 minutes here of that alternating from side to side. And then eventually we add the shooter to shooter pass, that catch and shoot scenario. So the big thing we want to avoid here is when we're catching the ball, we don't want to basically catch it, crank it, and then reach back and shoot. What we want to be doing is, as this pass is coming across from one side to the other, we want to be crow hopping towards the net already, catching the ball with our arms fully extended behind us, and ideally all in one motion, shooting that ball with a quick catch and release. And so that's what the best shooters are able to do. If it's a bad pass, even, of course, you will have to catch it, reset your hands and shoot it. But if it's a perfect pass, ideally we want to catch it all in one motion and shoot it. And so we can show them that in our demos. And we're just going from side to side. So you pass, then you receive a pass, and then the next person steps up, passes, receive a pass. So lots of reps here shooting, pretty routine pass, a swing pass across the top here. And we in the end we get back to that lead pass concept. And again, if we're going to get the ball low, as we have the ball low and we're carrying it high, we're either a threat to shoot. If it's there, we're taking space, we can take a shot of our own. But at the same time, we should have somebody cycling on the other side from low to high, because we're constantly cycling high to low, both sides, passing, cutting, getting through the middle. And so this player here now is the art of this is to, again, pass it to a spot, pass it to where he's going, not where he or she is. And so, it's going to be difficult. And again, I mentioned in the beginning, if they miss this pass, maybe the coach can fire a second pass in for a shot. It all depends on numbers, but this is where we're trying to get to with catching and shooting. It might not happen today, but at least we can bring it to their attention. And we've had a lot of kind of standing around in these, and in the end, we're going to get some sprints going here to try to get their cardio rate up. But with these shooting drills, the more advanced form is after the person shoots that they sprint out of the drill as a good habit. We always say react back after you shoot. Don't stand and admire your shot. So, I mean, with some of the more advanced players, you can get them thinking about that. But we don't want to also distract our newer, less developed players from thinking about too many things at once, especially early. So just focusing on the mechanics of the shot, the footwork pattern, the pattern of carrying high to low, that's enough to occupy most people's brain for the first time. But again, in a game, if I carried it up here, shot, and then it hit in the corner, and then all of a sudden the other team gets it and they're running this way, I need to be able to chase this back and not give up a breakaway or a fast break as one of the last people back. So that's a further habit that we get to later. But for kind of this cardio blast at the end, we're doing it without balls now this time. And we are just we're in 4 groups. And the reason we do that, it's, we work at a 2-to-1 work to rest ratio in lacrosse for the most part. So if you're on for 30 seconds, you rest for 60. So we're a little bit outside of that here. We're 3-to-1 versus 2-to-1. So we get a chance to focus more on the actual footwork of our back pedal, our side shuffling, and our drop stepping or tracking backwards and forwards. So that's something to consider. So maybe in the future with something like this, you would cut it down to 3 groups to make it more intense. But being that it's still early, I like to kind of ease into these things and not kill people on the first day and leave them throwing up per se. So just highlighting the importance of hard work, and that this is a running game, showing them a few different footwork patterns, and it's just pretty much from the pylon to the restraining line and back, either 2 or 3 times, and one group goes, then the other, then the other, then the other, and we just work our way around like that. So everybody be probably kind of pretty gassed by the end of this. Have them kind of walk it out after this drill for 30 seconds to a minute, meet at center, and we're just going to talk about some stretches now after you have a hard fitness event. Is the best time to work on flexibility, which is what static stretching is, helping the recovery for being on the floor next time and whatnot. So asking them what they know about the stretches, what static stretches they know. We're going to focus on the lower body here, and the coaches can kind of fill in the gaps on any of the major muscle groups they don't get. But that's it for this practice. You want to finish on a positive note, as always. Maybe sticks in for another quick cheer. And this is practice 2 for 16U. Next week we'll be here with practice 3. Thanks for tuning in.